Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you all for joining me for this kind of impromptu live. It's more of a check-in and just trusting my own intuitive flow in this season where there's so much is happening in the world and we can feel the collective energy on all levels. What's happening with our country if you're in the US, but I think that affects everyone globally, and needless killing and deaths, and also from an astrological level, how that's impacting us all, this shift into, as Chinese astrology would say, the fire horse year, fire horse energy. And if none of that language resonates for you, just maybe the unsettled energy within all of humanity right now as we contemplate and try to process what's happening, and also feeling this sense of emotional unrest that is so clearly being activated by what's happening, but also our historical activations, right? What is it bringing up for you? What are you feeling? What part of you is being activated by what's happening in the world? Your core wounding of not feeling safe within yourself, not feeling secure within your own being, not being in a space of your own power. And I think in this season, trying to be present to all that's happening in the world while balancing your own energy, while staying regulated, while staying connected to those you're responsible for, if you're a parent or whatever role you play in your family or community, and also managing the way you navigate our collective trauma and pain and vision for the future, right? There's so many shoulds that come up at times like these. And when we are activated or triggered, it's easy to project whatever our vision, our values are, our specific strategy onto others as hard shoulds. And I want to create space today for all aspects of our journey, all aspects of our humanity, and returning to a pure definition for power and understanding it more deeply, and returning to it from a state of groundedness, right? Of loving awareness of our highest vision for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, our countries, for humanity, for the world. Because it's so easy to get drawn in and sucked in when we're activated and dysregulated, not realizing that what we're seeing is not the most objective view of reality, but it's a heightened, exaggerated version that is a bit distorted. And there's so many layers of distortion, right? From ideologies that don't align on these apps, right? We know we can get into our own algorithm and be locked into a loop or a bubble that perpetuates cognitive dissonance, right? And so I just want to offer a few things this morning, and maybe we'll end with a bit of a meditation to ground us all, if that resonates for you. But starting with what's being activated, right? Within all of us, a survival response, a sense of unrest. That's the emotion we feel on the surface. And underneath is our historical trauma and pain and wounding and sensitivity. And just starting there, can we start on solid grounding and anchoring within ourselves to know what's happening within me, what is being activated within me, and how do I return home just to center our baseline, Or if you can't even get to center, how do I reduce this level of activation, right? And so first is just the awareness that you're activated before you try to change something else outside of you immediately, though there is much that needs to be changed. Recognizing how can I be most effective, right? The old saying, put your own mask on first before you save others if the plane is crashing. And so just taking a moment to breathe, be in your body, accept your humanness, our difficulty and challenges with impermanence, our misunderstandings, our projections, and just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Whatever feeling, emotion you're having is 100% valid. Just to honor your experience, the confusion, the frustration. And that in itself creates a point of coherence within yourself, just to say it's okay to be where I am, how I am, and feel what I'm feeling. Hopefully that softens some edges and brings you back home, or at least gets you on the path back home. And then as you're walking yourself back home from whatever historical activation is being perpetuated, you can see on that path back to the center of your heart old familiar neighborhoods, right? Where, well, this happened, and this is kind of the story that I'm projecting onto this moment, or the what if I'm worried about. And you get to tend to some of your core wounding. Again, I'm not saying we're not going to do something in our world to change and be a part of the solutions we want to see. Of course we are. But first, let's come home to ourselves so we can be most effective, right? Because the energy we hold is the energy that will unfold in our worlds. Everything starts with our energy. So, walking ourselves back home to heart center and getting curious about what's being activated within me. Core woundings, when maybe there was a destabilized point in your childhood where there wasn't that level of security or support or safety. Something that happened to you, others, maybe it's beyond this lifetime, your lifetime, maybe it's your ancestors. More realistically, maybe it's all of it, and it's layered like an onion, right? So just creating space to be with it all, be with it all, be with it all. And more importantly, own what parts of you are being activated, right? I'm not saying it's your fault that those things are there, but it is yours to alchemize. It is yours to transform. It is yours to take good care of. And the deep witnessing of yourself creates an opening, right? So just being with all that's within you, all parts of you, your highest hopes for our humanity, your greatest fears for yourself and your family and the collective, and the unsettling feelings of uncertainty. Right? And just take a low belly breath in. Exhale, soften any tension in the body. Place one hand over your heart center. This helps us to stabilize. Breathing in to the heart space, becoming present to all that is alive within you without judgment, shame, blame, or resistance. Exhaling, soften. Another low belly breath in. Exhaling, soften. One more low belly breath. Feeling the abundant support of the earth and the plants that sustain us even in amidst all that's happening. Exhaling, soften. Noticing how presence to ourselves shifts our energy a bit. Coming home. And now just taking a moment before we even talk further to tune into your heart wisdom, your inner knowing, your intuitive wisdom, the divine, your guides, God, whatever language resonates for you. All of that is valid as well. There's no shoulds here. And asking simply, what do I need to remember in this moment? Divine guides my heart. What do I need to remember in this moment? And just breathing with it for just a minute here. I'm not trying to answer from the cognitive mind, but holding the space. And in this space of remembering, I can feel a shift within me. I'm sensing a shift within many of you. I'm just setting the intention to honor this remembering throughout your day and throughout this season of life as things are shifting. And if it feels resonant for any of you, you can share what your heart, your guides, the divine is asking you to remember in the comments. And we'll take a moment just to sit in that before we talk more about a way to move through this season. I love this. My heart says that unity is on the horizon. Beautiful. I need to remember to let things melt away. I am being reminded that sadness honors our humanity. What great wisdom. I am love. We all are love. I, the Holy Spirit, am here. Remember my innate goodness in myself and all people. I am safe. We are safe. We are renewable. I can feel that energy shift in our collective, right? So notice this is just part one of 3 pillars for me. This is grounding. The 3 pillars are grounding, healing, and transformation. But just returning home, taking time to be on our path back to our heart, noticing what's being activated within us, owning that, taking responsibility, as this is our job to take care of ourselves, our emotional journeys. And then tuning in to your higher wisdom, your inner wisdom, the heart's guidance, the divine. And noticing what comes up, noticing how the energy shifts. I can feel all of our hearts opening back up, right? And I just want to take a second before I talk about healing and transformation to share what my heart was saying. And it's that true power is beyond force. True power is beyond force. True power is beyond force. That has been my heart's wisdom. So anybody who's coming in forcefully, I understand that is the lowest vibration of control or an illusion of power. True power is beyond force. And I want to share something. This is great wisdom from David Hawkins, and there's a book he has called Power versus Force. And he he says there's essentially two ways of navigating life and influencing the world. And the first that many of us are more familiar with is force. And we often confuse it for power, but they're not the same. And he says that force operates through coercion, manipulation, external pressure. It requires constant energy expenditure, creates resistance, and ultimately depletes both the user and those it's directed toward. Force is associated with lower consciousness levels and ego-driven motivation. Right? And so that's how he views force, right? And I think that's not new information, but I love this reclamation of the highest vibrational definition of power. And power, in contrast, flows from higher states of consciousness and truth. It attracts rather than compels. It inspires rather than manipulates, and actually energizes both the source and recipient. Power is self-sustaining and increases over time. Right? That's real power. That's real power. And what I love about our practice just now, returning home to our heart, notice how you felt more power and energy in your being as we just returned home to the heart, took responsibility for what's being activated with deep awareness and presence, and tapped into the highest consciousness of the divine's wisdom, our inner knowing, our heart. This is the foundation of how we change the world. They're being forceful in one way, and if we want to match their force with our force, what we don't realize is that we're in this lower level of consciousness. We're being dragged into the game, becoming a retrograde mirror reflection of what we don't want, and trying to gain an upper hand, not realizing that our true power is beyond that whole paradigm. Right? So it starts resting in your power, the highest power within, consciousness, open awareness. And I can understand that many of you may be wondering, oh, well, what do we do? How do we? All the questions. Leave your questions on the table for just a moment. We'll get to those. But just sit with this idea. Notice that even those questions is coming from this fear and worry, which is understandable and valid. I just want to objectively call attention to it. And notice how when you recognize your own fear, you shift into a state of power again. Because you're not being driven or manipulated, right, by the fear. It's very subtle. It sneaks in so quickly. And part of that is an illusion that there's a scarcity, right, of power or control of all these things. They're all illusions. We have a choice in any and every moment to choose differently, to return home, and be more mindful of the way that we show up in the world and how we engage with all that's happening in the world. Right now we're just at the grounding. Grounding is about our energy. Grounding is about returning home to the seat of authentic power. Not getting lost in force. Right? I am safe. We are safe. And I can feel as we talk about it, we're getting back in the head, getting out of the heart, getting out of presence. And the head's wanting to spin all these narratives again. Right? You can feel that unsettled energy. Right? We all feel it. So when you feel it, taking that deep breath, resting in the loving awareness of your heart space, being anchored by what the divine is asking you to remember in this moment, resting in your power within. And so I love this. Let's talk more about power before we talk about the healing and transformation piece. Because this is all about the foundation of how we want to move, how we want to think, how we want to take good care of ourselves and others through all that's happening in the world. And I love Brene Brown's explanation of power, right? The one we're most familiar with is power over, which we can also call force, because it uses the language of force, right? Coercion, manipulation, external pressure. And it's draining all that energy you spend monitoring what someone else is doing, trying to show up in this way with a bigger energy than theirs that doesn't even feel good in your body. You feel unsettled in it. You feel lost in it. Trying to get them to be a certain way. And even if you do for a moment, you're going to continue to do this tug of war, right? Kind of thing. And they're going to try to match it or one up you and you one up them, and then at the end nobody wins. We all die. We lose our authentic selves, even if there's not a physical death. So just noticing when that dynamic is showing up, finding your way back home, power within, right? Power within your heart space. And she talks about 4 levels of power. So that's power over. I think at the core for me it starts with power within. Then you have power to, right? Power to do certain things, your locus of control. And power with, right? We have power with one another right now in this space to connect and talk and unify. We have the power within when we learn to be mindful and move in a state of coherence, heart and mind aligned, creating aligned action in the body with clarity, not illusion and confusion rooted in fear. And that power within gives us the opportunity to see things clearly and decide how we want to move in alignment with real power, as David Hawkins describes it. And I want to read it one more time. Here's definition. Power flows from high states of consciousness and truth. It attracts rather than compels, inspires rather than manipulates, and actually energizes both the source and recipient. That's regenerative. It energizes me, it energizes you, it energizes all of us. And it's self-sustaining and increases over time. That's power within, power to, power with. Not power over. No force needed. Right? And so, in this point, this is grounding us in our bodies and our emotional regulation, grounding us in our ideologies and understanding of power and force and how it's showing up in the world. The next point is healing. I always say grounding, healing, and transformation because this helps me to root through any of life's circumstances. Returning home to myself to see things clearly and not perpetuate old patterns of being in an energy of fear that creates more distortions in my experience. Present. And then the healing component is how do I expand in my emotional resilience? Meaning, how do I hold space for this unknown territory, your unknown territory, and your suffering? It's compassion. Okay. In the Beautiful Souls community, we were talking yesterday, and one of the members were talking about this ACEs evaluation that describes people going through great traumatic events as children and being a level 10, experiencing the most trauma you could experience or imagine. And then she talks about this resilience test that she took, and she was a level 10 because she had moved through those and found her way to love and compassion and openness. And this, as a collective, is what we're trying to cultivate, whether we realize it or not. is this level 10 resilience. We can look at our ancestors, and they experienced a lot greater turmoil and insecurity than we're experiencing in this modern age where I'm on my phone and talking to all of you, right? And so it's nobody's fault. There's no judgment. We're not worse or better than they are or were. This is just our journey, right? If we grew up in their lifetime, we would have cultivated that level of resilience in a different way. And this is the way we're going to cultivate it. So this is the healing. It's not that everything's perfect, that I don't experience trauma or pain or dysregulation. It's I know how to hold it with wisdom and with skill and with a tool bag that brings me back home and holds space for others' journey, where I don't perpetuate this forceful tribal me versus you kind of energy, right? Moving from a space of real power, a higher consciousness, a deeper understanding, noticing when others are showing up with great wounding, right? This is the difference. So we do that by finding our rhythm, coming home to ourselves, noticing when we've maxed out our capacity, and going back out to show up for ourselves and others as we're able, and breathing into it, right? There's any number of tools: walking meditation, breathing, EFT, therapy, and the list goes on and on. I'm so thankful we are in this season where wellness and mental health is at the forefront of what we're thinking about as we're really evolving all the ways that we show up in this world. And finally, it's transformation, embodying the wisdom that we've learned through these experiences of, oh, this is my pattern, my emotions are my responsibility, my activation. I'm going to return home to my higher consciousness of love and presence through the lens of healing, compassion, holding space for others, noticing when they're showing up in their wounding, which many of us are, because it's an inevitable part of the journey. So there's no judgment, but just a deep witnessing with reverence. And the transformation is, well, what's the strategy? How do we actually show up to the table in our power and have hard conversations? And this is the part that we're working on, right? And I love some great wisdom from Albert Einstein, and he speaks to frequency and vibration. He says that's all there is. And he says if there's a certain reality you want, you have to match the vibration of that reality, right? This is why force doesn't work. This matches the vibration of the current paradigm. We want love, we want peace, we want connection. We want a system and a country and a community globally that understands and sees the value of each soul as equal, as invaluable, as priceless. We want safety for all, comfort for all, fed bellies. And so that's the frequency that we have to rise to the occasion of, even when we're meeting those who are in the forceful paradigm. Right? And this is about something I call emotional evolution. Evolving the way that we as humans process our emotions and show up in the world. And this is beyond, in my view, moving from codependence, needing everything outside of us to be a certain way so that we feel a certain way, to interdependence, being able to navigate our inner realms well and show up with one another, to emotional evolution is where our baseline shifts entirely. It's a far cry for many of us, right from where we are in this moment. But where it becomes immediate that we understand and know that anything that's being activated is mind, and I can alchemize it, return to my highest vision, and show up. Doesn't mean that we don't experience things, and maybe it might seem hard to grasp. But this is the paradigm of authentic power, our highest vibrational awareness that energizes me, that energizes you, and becomes regenerative over time, rooted in deep compassion and love in the purest sense of the word, cultivating trust even in the midst of such anguish and unsettled turmoil in the world. But this is what's needed for us, right? To really move beyond these cycles as we look back in history that we've always been in. Force. My turn as a leader. War. Their turn as a leader. War. My turn as a leader. Right? We can see it's the law of undulation, tendency of things to wave back and forth. We can do the wave this way, right? But there are other options. Is it easy? No. Never claiming it to be easy. It can be simply laid out and expressed. But in the actual lived experience and embodiment of it, no, it will take time. It is the challenge we face. And so my question to you is, with that heart's remembering, right? How do you want to show up in this season? How do you want to come to the table in your own authentic power? Supporting your own personal emotional evolution, which creates a ripple, right? With her in the field of, in the level of quantum physics and energetics, epigenetics, but also it shows up in your conversation, right? It shows up in the way that you connect and talk to others. This is how we transform our world. We're looking at the old templates, and it's time for them to evolve. Because as you can see, they only work for a season. We were all under illusion that we had moved beyond certain things, not realizing that that force that we had, or the illusion of power over that we had, meant that somebody had to be under, and they were hiding in the shadows. Just as many of us hide in the shadows of our relationships and wear a mask and disguises until we feel we've had enough. And all that pressure builds up of inauthenticity, right? It's complex, it's very human. And so I encourage you, as you're showing up in this world, noticing when you're in an illusion of force and power over, which is the lowest frequency, which is why you feel so horrible the whole time. You feel terrible the whole time. You're angry, you're dysregulated, you're frustrated. Versus learning how to be present with loving compassion that is so expansive, that taps us into an infinite well of power, real power. Because that's what creates the world we want to see, is us showing up in that frequency. It's not giving others a pass. Right? But it's the recognition, I think, as I want to attribute this to Katie Byron, but it may or may not be her. But she says defense is the first act of war. Right? And in my view, compassion is the first act of expansion. Right? Defense means you think you can lose something about yourself. Compassion rests in wholeness and authentic power in knowing that I am beyond anything you think you can put on me. It doesn't even touch my mind or my awareness in that way. All I see is your wounding, showing up as illusion, confusion, and distortion. And I want to be a vibrational match for clarity and transcendence. This is our authentic power. This is what we're creating. This is what we want to create. This is the world I want to live in, right? This is the emotional evolution that I think we're all trying to figure out now. You can see it in all aspects of our society. The way we show up for each other, the way we do romantic relationships, right? You can see all the ways we're disconnected. So the transformation piece also can be understood from the sense of wounded energy to balance healthy energy. A wounded masculine energy, force, structure, right? Hide my insecurities by making sure no one sees them, by getting rid of everything that activates them, to a healthy, balanced, alive, vibrational presence of feminine. And feminine, I don't necessarily mean female, I just mean that artistic, creative, open awareness versus the structural. And not from a wounded place. They both have wounding attributes, but the healthy balance of both. A healthy structural system that embodies our aliveness, our highest frequency. But the direct shift, and this is wisdom from Danae Logan's book, Sovereign Love. She talks about romantic relationships, but I see it in society as a whole, moving from wounded masculine energy to healthy feminine energy, which is this frequency. And some men may be turned off by that language, but I implore you to hold it for a moment, to sit with it, to understand your own biases within regard to the feminine and what you think it means only, and how that definition could be expanded. And also understanding that there is a part of you that is craving this kind of flexibility, aliveness, and freedom within yourself, which is why you're resisting it. Because on the road to it, you may have to deal with some old wounds and be present to them, as we all are. And on the other side, if we can hold the long view, hold that vision just as we started with, taking a moment to tune into your heart wisdom and remember the heart's highest vision for you, the heart's greatest wisdom and alignment for you. To rest in this vision. Then we create an opening, right? A great opening into our expansive balance in the world, sense of wholeness, a structure and system that supports and sees all parts of our humanity as valid. That's the wisdom of the feminine, right? Not stem over the arts, right? And creativity. All important. Even that which can't be seen, right? Which is why there's such a surge in this age of the metaphysical and us trying to explore it and understand it and be with it in a new way. Because we've been pressed over the last 5 or 6 years through COVID, not being able to avoid and go into our normal coping mechanisms, or now as things are changing and we're being forced to sit with our biases and our tribalism and find this space of deeper meaning, deeper understanding, deeper embodiment of our highest understanding and excellence as humans. And that comes from what can't be seen or measured, right? So stepping into this healthy feminine energy space as a whole is what's going to shift us all. And that's all a part of our emotional evolution, right? There's many different ways to speak to it and open to it. So as far as the specific strategy Grounding in the moments when you're dysregulated, when you find your footing, coming back out, holding space for your suffering and the others' suffering. And then walking in an embodied way into the spaces and places you have an impact with aligned action that is open to the fullness and the greatness of our hearts and minds and spirits, holding the vision of an emotionally evolved humanity that you get to embody in each moment. Whether you're showing up to protest or to work or to create, whatever it is you do, showing up with that energy is what transforms us. It's what shapes our world. It's the unseen constant that is behind the curtain of every action, thought, and deed. And so we'll just close this morning's session with a meditation. And for those of you that are new, I'm a musician, I'm a meditation guide, but most importantly, I'm just a person who cares deeply about all of us as an empath and wants to see all aspects of our humanness honored and revered and cultivated with a system and community that supports our highest excellence that I know we're capable of. And so for me, it makes sense through this lens of returning homes to ourselves and cultivating our own personal emotional evolution. And I hope as it resonates that you'll do your share to tend your own garden well. And so I'm going to lead you through meditation. I'm going to start with loving kindness, which is part of the ways we cultivate all three of these: the grounding, healing, and transformation. Offering love to yourself first to fill your cup. Practicing expanded love by offering it to someone that you care for deeply. And then practicing healing love by offering it to someone that you have great difficulty with. Recognizing their humanity and their suffering is valid, even though you may not see eye to eye. And finally, offering love to all beings everywhere. And once we're grounded in universal love, we'll hold a moment at the end to tap into our highest intuitive wisdom, our inner knowing, our connection to the divine, your guides, whatever language resonates for you. It matters not to me. But to that all-knowing excellence in the cosmos, and asking the question, how do you want me to support our collective evolution? Right? Finding your place, being sovereign in your experience and your connection to the divine, and showing up in the most authentic power that holds the vibration and energy of the world we want to see around us. So, if you're ready, get comfortable in your seats. And we'll begin. Allow your eyes to gently close. Savoring a low belly breath in. Settle into your body. And as you exhale, settle your body into your seat. another low belly breath, and allow this breath to lengthen your spine. Envision the crown of your head being lifted by a thread of love, as your tailbone is rooted by the same. Exhaling into a posture of dignity and peace. One more low belly breath and surrender. All that you're holding, all that you're resisting or trying to control, all fear, worry, and doubt. Exhale and arrive right here and now. Continuing now to breathe at your own pace in your own way. Notice the natural length of your in and out breath. Notice any sensations in the body of tension, ease, strength, or tenderness. And everything in between. And with the support of your breath, offer your body nurturing, compassionate awareness. And just breathe here for a moment. Offering deep gratitude to the breath and your body that holds you. Receiving a low belly breath in, breathe into your heart space. Allow pure love and kindness to arise in your heart center. Feel its energy expanding the heart space, allowing you to be rid of any disguises or mask, to free you of any perceived limitations or conditions, returning you to pure, unconditional love and kindness. And now we'll start by offering a Metta loving kindness blessing to ourselves. So repeating after me. May I be happy. May I be healthy in body, mind, and spirit. peaceful and at ease. And now turning your awareness to someone in your personal life or group that you feel great consonance or ease loving. And visualize them in your awareness as we offer them the same love and kindness. Repeating after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy in body, mind, and spirit. May you take care of yourself wisely. May you be safe and protected. May you be peaceful and at ease. And now, this is our point of expansion and healing, our capacity to hold space for the suffering of others. Practicing true, unconditional love. I want you to think of someone that you have difficulty with. This doesn't have to be the most activating person in your world. You can start with someone who you have moderate or mild difficulty with. Honor your capacity in this moment. But holding them in your awareness, we're going to honor their humanity and offer them the same love and kindness. Repeating after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy in body, mind, and spirit. May you take care of yourself wisely. May you be safe and protected. And may you be peaceful and at ease. Now low belly breath in, exhaling, softening. And now we hold in our awareness all souls in human form, experiencing the full range of our humanity, wounding, heartache, injustice, starvation, hunger, difficulty, illness, all of the other animals on land, air, and sea, all plant life, flora, fauna, and fungi, and all entities in the great beyond, holding all of existence in our awareness as we offer this same love and kindness. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy in body, mind, and spirit. May all beings take care of themselves wisely. May all beings be safe and protected. And may all beings be peaceful and at ease. And now, in this space of universal loving kindness, holding the highest good in our awareness for all of existence, tuning into your heart space, your inner wisdom, the divine, your guides, your angels, whatever language resonates for you. We ask, how do you want me to support our collective evolution? How do you want me to support our collective evolution towards greater peace, harmony, and understanding? And we'll hold space here for about 2 minutes, not trying to answer from the egoic mind, giving ourselves grace if judgment slips in or doubt, but returning, postponing judgment, to hold pure love with the intention for our highest healing and connection. And just holding space for our hearts to speak. just noticing any shift in your energetic state. Holding the heart's response with an open hand. Surrendering any judgment or disbelief. And remembering who we are. We are love, and we are liberation. We are resting in our purest power when we hold this vision and this frequency as we move through these times. And if the heart's response wasn't clear in this moment, simply hold the intention to trust that your heart, your inner wisdom will speak when it's ready. And you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So we just take this time as we close this practice and set the intention to honor our inner wisdom and our highest guidance, to be available to a life beyond what we think is possible. And to stand in all that we know to be true in love, and honoring the value of each life, each soul, with reverence and compassion. So breathing in, tuning into your heart space one more time. Holding this vision, this intention, this wisdom from your highest self, the divine, your heart. And allowing pure love to augment and make it brighter. Remembering that you are a co-creator in this life. A co-creator of every experience you have. No one can take your power. You can't lose it. You just have to remember this truth. May all beings be free of suffering and the root of all suffering. May all beings know happiness and the root of all happiness. Remaining present to your breath, your life force, your energetic state of being. Remembering that you can access this state at any time with a conscious breath. Allowing your eyes to gently open. And placing the palms of your hands together over heart center. The love, light, and truth within me honors the love, light, and the truth within you. Namaste. Thank you all for being present, for holding space for your heart and all of our hearts on this unpredictable journey. May you move with an embodied sense of wholeness, of love, and authentic power, holding your heart's vision for the future in all that you do and in all the ways you connect. Be well, beautiful souls. I love you all, and we'll see you soon. Much love and light. Peace.